they kind of speak whatever they want, but all you need to do is to be
the president of the Press Union of Liberia to join us here. I don't know why he's not online at about this time. I would have loved to have the two of you here on this platform to talk, about some of these issues in Liberia. Media sustainability is something very, very key. We have to look at it because we all know that politicians own almost all of the media houses in Liberia, which is a bad thing, and it has to an extent crippled the independence of the media, which is very bad. Which is very bad. But before you want to speak to that, before we can go to the next question.
absolutely. I mean, media ownership is also one key component of the disadvantages and advantages we have in the media landscape because um, every politician in Liberia wants to own a radio station or probably want to acquire a larger share or bigger interest in the media space or the particular media institutions. So at that point, you have you have disjointment in the kind of content, the quality of news content that comes out to the public. Okay, let me point out. Truth FM is for Musa Bennett. I'm not trying to be personal. Do
Okay.
you think Truth FM is going to be super critical of Mr. Bennett? And now he's in opposition. He's a politician. You have OCM Radio. It's owned by this guy. They call him the original countryman. So I mean, apart from that, you have the Royal Communication by former President George Weah. So I mean, there's a lot ongoing with other people having alliances. People want to listen to particular radio stations that suit their message, that suit their campaign. So, I mean, somebody will say, "Oh, I love to listen to Freedom FM because Freedom FM can talk bad about government." Oh, somebody say, "I would like to listen to OKFM because OKFM can talk good about government or bad about government." Oh, I like to listen to LBS. I mean, this is the problem we're facing now. This is where we are as a community because um, the sanity of that's what we are the fourth estate. The survival of the state and the sanity of the country, it depend on us. It depends on us in the sense that when people wake up in the morning, the first thing they want to know what's happening around them. When people are going to bed, they want to know what's happening around them because if we don't give them what's happening around them, we cannot mislead them into danger. We cannot mislead them into speculation. We cannot put them in a space that they're going to render their own decision.
But these are the
So
things we are
I know
doing now,
there's
Moses. These are the very things we are doing. We are partially
I
reporting.
know
We are partially reporting because of our alignment to political parties or because of media ownership that has been taken over by politicians.
I can say partially reporting. I think at times if you look
No,
at
no, no.
even this
Moses,
radio.
Moses, Moses is a fact. Let's face it. Not because you are a journalist, I'm also a journalist. Let's be sincere, because these things are happening on a daily basis, and we see them. Why should we hide behind
So
one
great. So
pillow to shoot
so
ourselves?
so let's run through journalist science for instance. I obviously Moses Gazel is working for the BBC, so he probably might get paid better. Uh, Emmanuel Davis worked for KMTV. He's probably not going to get paid better. He's not going to get a better take home that will cater to school fees for his home or his children. That will cater to the welfare in his home. I mean, the media economy, like I stated earlier, becomes one of the most challenging aspects of the survivability of the profession. From the media institution to the journalists itself, there's a lot of strain. Are journalists getting paid? I saw a colleague recently, Emmanuel Koto, racing a campaign against media owners of underpaying or not even paying journalists. There are media institutions that have not paid journalists for
For more than a
for
year.
over a year. Some of them 2 years. Some of them have people in their employed who are not staff. They're just using them. So, for instance, that person kind of try to look for alliances in the communities that sources come from, people of good standing. So I mean, this is the point. So it kind of have a strain. It have a strain in being ethical. But I know not that the journalists don't want to be ethical, but his survivability also depend on that alliance he's building in a news community. So it's an important component for us to be able to look at as a country, because look, when one fabric of the society has a problem.
Again, Moses Yolan has a problem. He doesn't want to agree. He says his internet is good. He's hearing me. But now, if you watch the show after here, you will notice that you were sticking on the screen. But howbeit, I'm still trying to establish contact with the president of the Press Union of Liberia. He agreed yesterday to join us online this morning to talk about several issues. Moses Garcia is just, hitting few of the points we will be looking at this morning. But we want to look at the role of the media during these critical times. So Julius Kanuba will be joining us very shortly. What can the media do in promoting transparency and justice in Liberia? The goal of having this conversation is to, stop some of the tensions, particularly media safety, as they carry on their reportorial duties. We take this very short break to rejoin you on the morning show. So the president of the Press Union of Liberia is trying to come on, but we're having some challenges getting him online. So Julius, if it is possible, you can use your phone because the computer you are using is not bringing your image here. It is coming in with a white background. So let's try to change that. Please use the phone. The phone is okay. We can get you online quickly to start our conversation here on the morning show here on KMTV. We will be looking at the role of the media in promoting transparency and justice in Liberia's current political climate and some other issues, media safety, what can they do, how can the government and the media partner, particularly the security agencies that are clothed with the authority to provide security. So, is Julius on now? Hello, Julius. Can you hear me?
Hello, I'm hearing you. Can you get me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Okay, since your audio is good, we will place your picture on the screen and then have this conversation.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's okay to go like that.
Okay, fine. Thank you for joining us. How are you this morning? I hope I did not wake my president up very early.
Well, I am doing good. Thanks for. I hope you're also good. I do wake up every day by 5 a.m. So I drive 1 hour every day from Burrowville to town. So I do come to town very early.
That's good to know. Our young and energetic president of the Press Union of Liberia. It's good to have you on our show this morning. We are practically looking at the role of the media, or what role she can play in promoting transparency and justice in Liberia's current political climate. And the goal of having such conversation is to ensure press freedom and journalist safety amid these political tensions in Liberia. Once again, it is a great opportunity to have the president of the PUL with us this morning. Basically, what is the official position of the Press Union of Liberia regarding the recent political developments in the country, if any?
Well, thank you again for the opportunity to participate on your important platform at this particular time. Well, the Press Union has been closely following the developments country with respect to the issue of the investigations, the release of the findings of the investigation, and the subsequent indictment of 5 different lawmakers who are thought to be linked to the fire incident at the Capitol building last year. So the Press Union position is that respect for and adherence to the rule of law is very essential to ensuring justice within the country, to ensuring accountability within the country. The Press Union believes in accountability. The Press Union believes in the rule of law, but also the Press Union believes in due process. So the accused, like it is normally said within Liberia, one is presumed innocent until you are found guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction.
Okay.
So we hope the police have done their job now. They forwarded people who they believe are thought to have orchestrated, planned, and executed the burning of some areas of the legislature. So we hope they can be given their due process. We like the fact that 2 other persons were not deemed to have been linked to the incident. And those 2 persons, I think, if I get it right, one of them spoke, and a representative in the Safoko, and he praised the police for the transparency, the respect, and the dignity shown to him as somebody who was linked to the incident, and he was exonerated or not found to have been linked to orchestrating and planning or executing the burning of the Capitol building. So the press union is also excited that many express their interest in the coverage of these political, legal, and the security developments. We hope that we will continue to practice with professionalism. We hope mutual respect for each other in our
Okay.
interactions with the security forces and in our interaction at the level of the judiciary. Because these days many different journalists are practicing as individual
Okay.
within our society. One telephone, small data in the phone, and
Julius,
then
Julius, Mr. President, we will come to that. Let me just bring in this question. Amidst all of these political, rigmarole in the country, there is a huge public outcry that could influence justice and also political parties mounting pressure and tension, all of those. What's the possibility, of justice being dispensed in this case?
well, the possibility is very huge. I mean, there are some cases that will obviously attract or generate a lot of attention, but it does not mean that because the politicians or citizens or partisans or journalists or people who are interested in the case as citizens, because of that sort of interest, going to post in mass, who somehow give some level of dispensation for the court not to rule on the matter or for the court not to follow due process.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what I know is that they have been many in which political figures were arrested, charged, indicted, and then sent to court. And in the end, the court rules in those matters. So yes, there's a huge possibility that justice will be rendered, and this is a test for our court system yet again, because the burning of the Capitol building, per the cost estimate released by the police, is that it costs over 8 million US dollars. So imagine,
That's a huge sum.
yeah, imagine that's a very significant chunk of resources. 8 million. I mean, if you are investing that into education, into health, into the full relief for the poor people within our country, that would be highly, highly commendable. But now you got to take that money to rehabilitate, reconstruct, and redevelop the facilities that were burned at the Capitol building. So this is a trial that is significant within our country in terms of holding people accountable. And we should remember that other individual citizens were arrested by the police prior to the arrest, detention, indictment, and subsequent forwarding to court of the five lawmakers. Per my understanding, I think more than two persons were arrested, and they are presently, in court or they are in jail. So this Capitol building incident does not just apply to the lawmakers. As you can see on your screen, I mean, that's sort of a huge plume of smoke, fire in the building. I mean, this is a national infrastructure, and it is not only a symbol of democracy, but it is the place where democracy is expressed by the Liberian people and by people who are representing the Liberian people at the level of the legislature. And I mean, this incident almost caused dysfunctionality in the government. So we are optimistic that, given our experiences with the court, we think the court will be able to dispense justice in keeping with the rule of law.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So coming now to the parent body of journalists practicing in Liberia, how do you intend to ensure that press freedom is maintained, in the midst of the ongoing discussions we're having?
Well, one of the things we fall and we do like to express our gratitude is the issue of respect for press freedom within the country that has grown over time. I mean, since 2005 and 2006, especially when Liberia transitioned into the practice of democracy, there have been in and respect for press freedom within the country, free speech and expression. We know there are instances where people do violate the rights of journalists, do sometimes or engage in the practice of closing media entities. But since President Blocker took over, we've now been seeing this sort of a huge pattern, or this sort of increased pattern, wherein journalists' rights are disrespected on a larger scale. I know there have been instances in which rights are violated, in huge instances in which radio stations are closed, or media entities, or social media and online journalists or print journalists are refrained or restrained from performing their job. So this is a commendable step. We believe that us now journalists, we must continue to uphold and adhere to professionalism and ethical standards. One of the things the professional
is that possible, Mr. President? Is that possible to maintain and uphold professional standards at all times, at all levels?
Well, we do have that belief that if all of us, people like you, demonstrate professionalism, it is possible. If people like you don't demonstrate ethical journalism, then we'll say it is not possible. But I like the fact that you're asking all of these questions, because the answers to these questions and the concerns you are raising will help again to reinforce the perspective that there is a need for us to continuously uphold ethical standards of journalism, ethical standards of media, to ensure that the profession is respected, to ensure that the nobility associated with journalism as a noble profession is upheld. And I like the fact, Emmanuel, that people like you are very much interested in ethical journalism, in professionalism. I mean, that is why you have a talk show. You bring different people to gauge their perspective on issues developing or unfolding within our society, which is very critical. So if I believe in you, Emmanuel Davis TV, I'm sure I can confidently say I believe in other journalists to uphold ethical standards. But can there be instances where ethical standards are violated? Yes, amen. I will admit to you, the president has been receiving many different complaints of ethical or alleged ethical transgressions by our. Some are not even registered members of the PUL. Some are registered, but they are not in good stand. But it is our responsibility.
That's a huge challenge for the union, Mr. President. I think this is where the union comes in.
Yes, it is, and this is a challenge we line up for as people who want to help to provide or to serve the union in leadership positions. Even I can speak this morning to say we are working now to constitute the National Media Council, the ethical regulatory arm of the union that investigates, adjudicates, and complaints or grievances in relation to the practice of journalism, media within our country. So it has been one of our shortcomings at the union, because we took over a union that was in crisis. The first thing we've been doing is to stabilize the institution. So now we are moving into the phase wherein we need now to do the work that the union does best in terms of adhering or enforcing ethical and the standards of journalism. So yes, it is a huge, but that responsibility also is on your shoulders, Emmanuel, because if you continue to practice professionally, and like you or many other people who practice professionally, the union will not have such a huge task in terms of self-regulation. What is also important is that people like you, people who practice journalism with professionalism, these are people that should be awarded and that must be awarded within society. They must be recognized. So yes, the union will from time to time continue to encourage all of its members to continue to practice ethical standards. In journalism, we say accuracy is critical. And to ensure accuracy, you must be able to verify information to prove that something is a fact, meaning that it is either true or false. Engage in any propagandistic form of journalism wherein you are not accurate, you are not balanced.
Mr. President, are you there? Good morning. Julius Kanuba is the president of the Press Union of Liberia, speaking to some critical issues. Like I was telling Moses Gaziwu, it is good to discuss these issues, not because we are journalists, so we should, turn blind eyes on some of these things. No. Some of our colleagues ethically transgress, and some of these transgressions are very deliberate. They are deliberate. Yes, so please try to reconnect. Right now, he's trying to reconnect because of the weather. We have extreme weather today. So the internet system, internet connectivity is not that good. It is poor, especially for those using the various mobile providers network here in Liberia. So shortly, is he back on? Okay, so Julius is trying to reconnect on the morning show. These things are happening. There are people here who just carry a cell phone, just one phone. So the man has access, or she has access to Facebook, the social media. That individual can purchase a dollar card or two and just start to report. Now, in the midst of all of the reportage we are talking about, because some didn't even go to school, the professional schools that are here to learn the ethics, the professional ethics of journalism, but they pronounce themselves as journalists. Of course, when you say you are a journalist, the man who is maybe a professional doctor or maybe someone else, you go to him and say you are a journalist, maybe he doesn't question you. And you go ahead, do an interview, write what you want to write, say what you want to say, and at the end of the day, that blame comes on all of us. We all take the blame. Journalists, professional journalists take the blame. That's the reason I was saying there are too many challenges. It's a huge challenge. The Press Union of Liberia has to act very proactively. She needs to take decisions. She needs to work with national government for media accreditation. Let some of these things stop. Because everyone carries phone. Everyone today is a journalist. And when they go out, they make mistakes. They do their political whatever reporting. At the end of the day, we are blamed for it. You hear the politicians and other people saying, but NIO journalists, are people doing it? This is not fair. It is not fair. We have to work. We have to do something to change the status quo. We take this short break and come right back. Many thanks for rejoining us here on the morning show. That's the beauty of technology. But why do we call it beauty? When they think it be challenging, we can say challenge, man. Back on the line is Mr. Kanuba. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I'm getting you, Imade. I'm so sorry. I mean, you said beauty, but I would say that's the downside of technology.
Okay, so yes, you are in flight. Could you just land your thoughts before I can go to the next question that has to do with the union's intent to protect journalists from, threats and intimidation, not only in these times, but continuously?
Well, like I was saying, let us continue to respect and professionalism. We continue to adhere to professional journalistic standards, practice journalism with ethics to ensure that we have a respectable institution. Because journalism as a whole is a respectable profession. We urge our colleagues to continue to follow developments within society with respect.
Sorry, I think the internet has just come on.
You back
Yes,
on?
so
So
let's
let's
continue
continue
to
to respect
respect
journalism
journalism
with
with
integrity,
integrity,
and
and
let's
let's
continue
continue
to
to
uphold
uphold
journalistic
integrity,
journalistic
journalistic
standards
standards
for the
for the
best of
best of
society.
society.
Great. The next question was, how does the union intend to protect journalists from threats and intimidation as they carry on their reportorial duties, not only from today, but in the future continuously?
Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Yes, we're continuing to uphold professionalism within the media. We encourage our colleagues in the media to continue to do it. Like I was explaining, we have this body we call the National Media Council that is in charge of investigating issues arising out of the practice of journalism or out of the conduct of the media within society. So yes, let's continue to observe ethical standards in terms of ensuring verification of our information, in terms of ensuring accuracy, in terms of providing comprehensive accounts, and that is based on a very fair approach to journalism. And let's continue to be impartial. The union is there to help guard the professional journalism within our country, to help to guard us as an institution, but also to advocate for our welfare. And this is one thing we are working.
Hello, Julius.
Yes, I'm getting you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes, we're continuing to push for the welfare of journalists within the country because welfare is also linked to the issue of professionalism within the media sector. Like you say in one of your questions, the media sector is challenged. So all of us will have to work to ensure that yes, in our coverage of day-to-day events, we remain professional. We
Can
remain in keeping with the ethics of journalism.
Can we observe, and I want you to be very frank in answering this question, can we as journalists observe professionalism, all of the ethics in the profession or associated with the profession, as challenged as we are, particularly about sustainability, when we cannot sustain ourselves? How is it possible for a man who has practically nothing, he earns nothing, how can he be a professional man?
Well, people who live in poverty are not necessarily criminals within society. Like
Okay.
Liberia, we have a population of 5.2 million,
Okay.
above 5 million, for
Above
example.
5.
Not everyone in the country, yes, not everyone in the country is rich. Some are very poor, but it does not mean they are engaged in the disrespect of rule of law. So no matter our challenges within the media sector within our country, we believe that the media generally we are respecting the ethical standards. Because Emmanuel, without us observing ethical standards, in spite of the challenges that we have in terms of the resources, in terms of the media sustainability or viability, You only have me commenting this morning on ethics, right? You have people who are unprofessional.
Again, and again. This is challenging. This is highly challenging. Can you get me?
Yes, I'm getting you. So, like I was saying, I mean, people who are journalists who are facing difficult conditions, some of them are some of the best journalists in the country. We are aware of all of the constraints that are faced, or that journalists do confront on a day-to-day basis. Yes, but it is 100% possible. Emmanuel, when we were, for instance, doing active journalism, what we do normally say journalism is a core to action, because it is a profession that is characterized by passion, that is characterized by commitment and dedication to doing a job on behalf of the society, to serve the public interest, to serve the society as a whole. That is why many of us who graduated from high schools and who came through the ranks or the walls of the universities within Liberia, also Liberia, we've been able to register interest in journalism. Sometimes, even Emmanuel, people like you, there will be certain times in life you leave the profession, but you still want to come back to the profession because you have that sort of a passion. You believe that this is your calling. And there are many people who are practicing journalism with professionalism. I mean, many people, some people are living on $50 per month, Emmanuel. Some $0 per month. Some $150, some 75. I mean, perhaps the highest paying institution could be paying around between $400 to $500, or not above $2,000. But there are other professions within Liberia where people are making above $1,500, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000. But in journalism, we do normally say it is a calling, and it is a calling that all of us will need to follow. But yes, we need to incentivize the profession, to make the profession dignified, and that is why we put ourselves up for the membership to give us that mandate to help to govern the media sector, especially improving the quality of journalism, but also the quality of living standards of journalists. And this is a critical aspect. In the coming weeks and months, we will be launching what we call a journalists welfare survey. Okay. To understand, for example, how much does KMTV pay a reporter at the entity, or security, or news editor?
Mr. President, Jagan asked me, you don't have to spend plenty of money. I get the data rare. You're just asking, okay.
Besides that, we'll be asking other journalists and the media operators, the media owners, different questions. For example, what are some of the costs associated with running an online platform, right? And how can you compare the cost of running KMTV and the cost of servicing the condition of work of the journalists or the employees of KMTV? Right. Let's not forget, we do normally somehow neglect the fact that media entities are business entities in themselves, in how much they are serving the public good. Most of our media entities in Liberia are commercial entities. They are there to make profit, right? And they rely, for instance, on the production of different programs to receive some level of income or revenues. They rely, for example, on advertisements, for example. They rely, for example, on sponsorship. So those are different forms of ways of getting some resources to service your facility, to also service the workers at the entity.
Okay.
So we would like to speak with the journalists, the everyday journalists, the people who are not practicing, and then how can the press union intervene in some of these issues? Because per our constitution, especially one of the core objectives of the PUL is to advocate for improved work of service, work of conditions for journalists, and that includes the salaries, the benefits, the issue of health insurance, the issue of welfare insurance, for example. We all now need to, because Emmanuel, there's one thing that we do in journalism or in the practice of media that no other profession in my country does it at a larger scale. We are flagging and highlighting the issues confronting the different sectors of our society, the different people within our society. But we don't flag our own issues up. So that is a problem. For example, if KMTV is paying well, why can we highlight it in a report and commend KMTV? But if KMTV is not paying well, why can we also bring a voice it out publicly? That yes, KMTV, for example, I'm just using it as an example without having the facts, and that KMTV is not paying in line with, for instance, the labor law. I mean, Emmanuel, many different journalists within our country. I mean, I say many, those who have come to us. I'm not looking at the general population of the journalists, but many have come, they say we are actually violating the labor law, because the labor law of our country specifies that you must give, certain categories of employees certain amount of dollars. But you go to different places and people treat journalists as casual workers, right? Giving them, some of them $10, $20, $50, far below the minimum wage. The minimum wage in Liberia should be, I think, $150 or above $140. So we all now need to work. Once this survey is done, we have a realistic, evidence-based data that we can be able to point to. Yes, we went to KMTV, we spoke to maybe 5 or 3 persons, depending on the number of employees we have. Those persons, they gave us certain information. We went to OKFM or ELBC or Sky FM or Daily Observer, front page of Oracle newspaper or the Liberian Investigator. We've gone to online and the journalists who are stand-alone journalists. We've spoken with other these people, and this is what we found. Then we can be able to launch targeted advocacy within the media. For example, Emmanuel, if you are sick today, or if Julius Canova is sick today, guess what? Our first hospital is the airwave or the social media platforms. We take the persons and the sick persons and the picture, start to launch SOS call. I mean, why should we be doing this as professionals?
As professional people.
Yeah, so we have to work towards improving the condition, and it will take time. I know. I'm talking this because some people say, "Oh no, you're now in leadership." Change does not come easily, man. All of us will have to put our hands together to ensure that we better and improve the condition of journalists and media within our society.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We could find time to run a whole full hour discussion on the welfare of media, professionalism, the plans that you have as leadership of the PUL. What could be our role as journalists as well to help the union, achieve some of the good plans that you have initiated as a leadership. But let's come back quickly because our next guest will shortly be joining us. We've had some challenges with internet on today. It is due to the weather, but remember this is the rainy season, so we have to get prepared for all of those. My next question has to do with threats and intimidation of media professionals or the practice of journalism in the country. What is the union plan, to stop some of these intimidations and threats against journalists?
Well, the first thing is threats and intimidations against journalists are something that the President of Liberia strongly condemns and does not take very lightly. Since we took over the leadership, our position has been that whenever a journalist is threatened or is intimidated, that journalist must be able to report the matter to the President of Liberia, and then the President can take the necessary steps.
By condemning?
To ensure the safety of the journalist. If you think condemnation is a very weak tool, just go and try.
Of course it is.
No,
nothing has happened.
Guess what?
Nothing. Before you can continue, I am a victim of police brutality in this country on more than 2-3 occasions. The Moses Garcia who that just left the show is also a victim. We could go on naming different people who have been brutalized by police. What did the union do? She only condemned. So condemnation has been the only thing that the PUL has been doing.
Yes, I will say yes. Condemnation is one of the tools that we have in our toolkit in terms of holding people accountable for intimidating or threatening or engaging in assaulting journalists, right? And I'm saying this for a fact, Moses. I've been to many different countries around the world. If, for example, a police officer attacks or assaults a journalist, guess what? That statement the press union issues, you know what it does? That police officer is blacklisted. So that if he applies, for example, for a visa to go to certain Western countries, because of human rights violation, that person cannot go. So that is one of the impacts of condemnation by the PUL. Besides that, when people are considering you to be in good standing within society, as a moral person within society, when you are such journalists and your name goes all over, you know what it does? It creates sort of a public stigma against you. Oh, this is Emmanuel Dennis, or Emmanuel Davis, or Julius Kanuba, or Moses Gazewu, who assaulted a journalist. I mean, the case of Moses Gazewu that you mentioned, I hope it is the recent case, right? I'm not aware of any other case. The case involving Moses and the police during the county,
the county lead.
Yes, that case, we formed part of an investigation to which Moses subjected himself to, along with the coordinator of the Media Lawyers Network of Liberia, that was created or established by one of our international partners, Internews, with support from the USARD. So that lawyer network worked with the press union, with Moses Gazewu, to follow the investigations by the Professional Standards Investigation Division of the Liberia National Police. Guess what? After all of the hearings, after all of what we observed during the hearing, the police issued a report. Moses has got a copy of the report. The report was shared with the PUL. So the next stage is for us, Moses and the lawyer, to meet and form a collective response as to how to proceed. Because, for instance, Moses has argued, that he wants to pursue a legal course, right? But the press union cannot just go to court without agreeing with Moses and the lawyer as to how to go to court, right? So this is an issue that is on our desk. I mean, Moses has raised two different issues with me, and for me, I'm very honest and transparent about things. I'm very public about some of these issues. That one, he wrote a letter. He wants that particular matter to be exhausted, and by exhausted, he wants to go to court, which is of course good, right? So we need now to call a meeting to respond officially to the police report, one, and then two, he complained, one of us, meaning a member of the union, right, about certain ethical transgressions that person allegedly committed against his person, right? So us as a leadership, Emmanuel, I mean, you might have supported us or you might have supported your choice in the elections where we can't investigate cases. It is only the self-regulatory body. So we've been encouraging and appealing to all of our colleagues, for example, who have filed complaints before the union to exercise calm. Because if I, as president of the union, or the vice president, or the secretary general, or assistant secretary general, yes, or case, you may say because this person is our supporter, or you may say because this person did not support you, or you may say because of your closeness to somebody, that's why you found them guilty or not, or you exonerated them. So I've always appealed. So even the condemnation by the PUL is not a small instrument. I mean, people, in fact, journalists who have ethically transgressed and they are named and shamed by the PUL, sometimes they don't even go home because their children can say, oh, Papa, Mama, now you they say you violated the ethics of journalism, you are not a good journalist, you are very unprofessional. So that stigma is there. But I like the fact that all of you are now pushing for the issue of prosecution. I know that is where you want the press union to be very, very emphatic. We agree with that particular notion. We've spoken with lawyers, we've spoken with the Liberia National Bar Association, some officials of the bar, for example. We've spoken with media and the former media leaders. One of the things they do tell us is that to carry people to court is good, right? But what happens if a journalist ethically transgresses against somebody and the matter comes before the PUL finds the person guilty, and that person uses that particular verdict by the PUL to go to court to ensure this person is also found guilty in the court so that they can be made to pay some money to that particular person. So we have to proceed cautiously.
Okay.
For us, when incidents of attacks happened, for example, against Yanti Tupa, some other journalists, the first step we did was to contact those people who were involved. Some apologized, Emmanuel, I should be able to admit. And then when the president attempted to go to court with the journalists, some of the journalists, guess what? They told us, Emmanuel, that, oh no, let it stay. They are all Liberian English, right? Let it stay. And we should not continue with, to pursue legal matter because money will be involved. I have to be going to court. Senate matter has gone public now. In 1 or 2 weeks have passed, so it is okay. But also, Emmanuel, what we also noticed is that the lawyers have advised us, right, and not all instances of assault, intimidations, or threats against a journalist that you can just go to court. Okay. Some of those cases can be handled professionally by the Liberian National Police. Okay. Emmanuel, we do receive different types of complaints at the union. For example, personal matters. Sometimes Emmanuel is riding or is on a bike and his bike has KMTV on it, and then the police say because they have restriction, at a certain limit.
Go zoom.
Yes, at a certain limits where you can go with motorbike or not, and then the police arrest Emmanuel who is performing a public good. So Emmanuel calls the president. The first thing, Emmanuel is not registered with the president, but yet we know Emmanuel David is to be a journalist. So what do we do?
Or maybe he's a delinquent member.
That's the word the Constitution uses, unlike the fact that you know the words in the Constitution. Especially if you're not in good standing, you are delinquent. So what we do intervene. And we do tell the journalists that no matter how much you have the identity or you are part of a profession, the first thing is we ask you, is your motorbike registered? Are you a licensed rider or person to ride a motorbike? So if yes, then we can be able now to appeal to the police to allow you to do your job. Okay. But when your motorbike is not registered, you're not a good standing member of the PUL. So sometimes we do it because you belong to the profession and we don't want the police to obstruct your work. Yeah, because freedom of expression is very critical, but it does not mean that we should disrespect the rule of law.
No.
So yes, Emmanuel, we do all of these interventions for the public interest.
Okay.
And I like the fact that all of you are pushing for some sort of actions to be taken against people who violate the rights of journalists. Okay. What we are also doing now is to monitor on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, monthly basis, and then at a certain point we'll be able to issue a report to list the names of people who are violating the rights of journalists, the actions we've been able to take, and what sort of interactions we've had with the journalists who was involved in such a situation.
Thank you so much. Someone says you are allowing the president to talk very long, too long, and maybe they think I'm acting biased.
No, I mean, the questions you are asking, those are all critical questions. And unless we explain and answer the questions in a more comprehensive manner, sometimes we may not be able to get the context in which sometimes the president can issue condemnation. That's why, Emmanuel, something happened in Israel recently. A community radio station was shut down by the Liberian National Police on the orders of the superintendent, who said that because there were two rival factions claiming control of the radio station ownership and to exercise the governing management of the station, so the station was shut down. The president had to go to Grand Jida County to Zreju. Guess what? It was one of the members of the Grand Jida Legislative Caucus who had to help the president because the resources, we are facing resource constraints, right? So when we intervene, we resolve that matter amicably. And guess what? People praise the president for the interventions. We're not perfect, right? We made some mistakes in the process, but yet we have to intervene. Because without the president going to Zreju, the superintendent said the radio station cannot be open. The police too said the station cannot be open without the president coming to resolving the dispute because nobody was trusted to resolve this dispute. Okay. So how do we transport ourselves from here to Grand Jida? How do we find accommodation? How do we eat, for example? We carry a delegation of 4 persons from the Community Radio Association that we call ALICO. We carry 2 persons from ALICO. We carry a professional and a veteran journalist here, and Doma, for example. We carry a female journalist who also experienced such a situation. She's a manager at the radio station in Calcutta. So we all went there. We resolved that matter amicably. So the press union is working to ensure the integrity of journalism within the country, but also to promote freedom of speech and expression.
Thank you very much. Let me ask my final question before you can wrap up this morning. What particular message would you like to convey to the Liberian citizens regarding, the role of independent press in national stability?
One thing I like the fact is that, Liberians are respectful of press freedom. Liberians are respectful of freedom of speech and expression. When I say Liberians, I mean the majority of the citizens, because if people were opposing freedom of speech and expression of the media, then we now have KMTV or Julius Konoma operating as president and the president or as a media entity. Okay. So let us continue to uphold and the respect for press freedom, respect for the rights of journalists. Let us continue to uphold the rule of law as citizens of our country. I know you wanted to ask a question about the safety of journalists. We also encourage our colleagues, please continue to observe safety measures. Do not put yourself.
Some all can say, but you don't know a journalist. They both say, don't pass here. This is a barricade. You say, but a journalist.
Yes, that is one of the challenges, right? In the performance of our duties, we are so passionate, right? Yes. In the performance of our duties as journalists, we are so passionate. So, for instance, the Moses Gazewu situation, where Moses had come from a practice session, and the police said he was within a restricted zone. But the restricted zone is where Moses came from, right? So, because two of them, one is a journalist, one is a police officer, and because of the passion they have for defending their rights and defending their parties, that was what resulted into what we saw as a video. So the issue is, let us continue to observe safety measures in instances of frightening situations like protests that would turn violent. Journalists are always encouraged to first ensure their own safety. Because, Emmanuel, I know you've been to many different journalism schools or workshops or seminars. There's one cliché that there is no story worth dying for, right? No. So let us continue. And again, those of us who are practicing with online networks, one journalist, one TV, so to speak, one online platform. Yes. So let us continue to ensure that, yes, before we go to some of the places to cover events, we are accredited to some of the places. Because, for example, you want to cover the legislature because the lawmakers are involved in certain practices. You don't just enter the Capitol building because you say, oh, I am a journalist. We observe that with the Liberian National Police in terms of the investigations. They are assigned reporters that do cover the judicial or crimes. So yes, we know certain political developments will generate the interest of almost every journalist, but give chance to people who are accredited, people who have got the experiences covering those areas to cover these areas. And if the police, for example, or if some officers say, oh yes, we already have some of your colleagues in, the place is small for everyone to enter. Because, Emmanuel, sometimes you see more than 75 persons, they want to enter a hall.
I know that.
They only with 4 or 5 persons. And when the police or these institutions try to restrict, and then you say, oh no, you're violating the right of journalists, freedom of expression. Well, yes, it's true, but we have to recognize the fact that not everyone will be allowed to cover the executive mansion. Not everyone will be allowed to come into the studio of KMTV. KMTV can host, for example, more than 500 Liberians in the studio, right? KMTV will only host, yes, those who it has invited. But if people are accredited to cover KMTV, give them the chance. That is why these days we are so blessed that most of us who are practicing journalism, we do multimedia. Either we are doing camera, we are on phone, we're doing video recording, we're doing tape recording, with a cassette or recorder. And once you go there, somebody is doing live thing and you can't get access to that particular place. What you do? You watch KMTV and take the audio from there, give KMTV the credit.
Okay.
Listen to them and move on. Okay. So let us continue to observe the safety measures because we don't want journalists to be involved in any violent act or to be caught up in violent act because it will be a huge cost for Emmanuel Davis to be home or in a hospital. I mean, Emmanuel, you are on live this morning, very active, energetic, practicing with professionalism, which is good. Rather than you insisting on covering, a particular development and you are wounded, and then you are in hospital or you're hospitalized.
You cannot
So I know all of us, we have the passion, but let us, practice with the professionalism, with the dignity that is bestowed on our profession. Because Emmanuel, this is the only profession. This is the only profession that can ask a president a question, and the president will have to respond. We have an elected lawmaker question. That lawmaker will have to respond. We walk to the police commander. No ordinary citizen, like a journalist, will just go anywhere to say, I want to ask the president a question, unless he gave me that space. But the journalists who are members of the fourth estate, meaning the fourth branch of government, they are special people within society. So as I close, I'd like to commend and applaud all of you who continue to work in journalism, media, and communication. Let's continue to uphold professionalism. I'd like to thank KMTV for the level of work you continue to do. I was also in Liberia, for instance. I used to follow KMTV when I was in Sweden, in Germany. One of your colleagues also runs a show in the United States. I think Cyrus McGee. Nathan Charles. Yeah, they used to invite me on their platform. So I'm very happy to always speak with you. And let's work together to move the press union forward.
Thank you so much. He's the president of the Press Union of Liberia, Julius Kanuba. He's been on our show this morning sharing with us the union's perspective on media justice and political stability. What role can the media play in promoting transparency and justice in Liberia's current political climate? Of course, the goal of this conversation was to ensure that press freedom and journalist safety amid political tensions in Liberia. Mr. President, thanks so much for taking up your time to join us.
Thanks so much, Emmanuel, and thanks for the efforts too.
You're welcome. So, Julius Kanuba, thank you so much for joining us. Well, let me inform you that we were not able to get Jacob Jala. Jacob actually thought that the time would have been 9 p.m. No, man. I mean, Jacob, we did it in yesterday. You said you were going to come on the show, and you're telling me about 9 p.m. But anyway, hopefully tomorrow Jacob will be here. Let's hope that he can join us to talk about, his journey to the CDC. Why did he go there? What are some of the things he, carried on the table to benefit the Coalition for Democratic Change? Many thanks for joining us. We'd like to take a break on this Wednesday edition of the morning show on KMTV. And many thanks to our technical team. It's not easy. Yeah, it's a man can't all. But do have yourselves a productive rainy day from Monrovia.